Now, we met the frontal bone before, okay, and that sort of that comes down across here. The bones that we haven't really met properly are these two nasal bones here. You can also see, I don't know if you can just see there, heading into the orbit. I'm not going into the orbit fully here, but this is the lacrimal bone with the groove for the nasolacrimal duct. Inside here is the nasal septum, and this is formed mostly, although by actually a slightly more complex fusion of bones than this, but mostly by the ethmoid bone, which is also forming these projections on the side of the nose, and they're called conchae. This opening here is the external, is the anterior nasal aperture, and it's covered usually in cartilage and a little bit of fat to form the majority of the shape of the nose and the nostrils. Okay. Now this bone across here is the maxilla, which is bearing the upper arch of teeth, and the only specific feature that I'd like you to really note here at this particular point is these three foramini, this one, and this one, all in a line. Okay, this is the superior and supraorbital and infraorbital foramini, and this is the mental foramen. Okay, and they all project three important branches of the trigeminal nerve, which supply sensation to the face. Okay, so that's the anterior surface of the skull. I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but just in case I didn't, I mentioned before the zygomatico-frontal and the zygomatico-temporal suture lines, those weak points for if someone takes a blow to the face. There's a third one here, which is called the zygomatico-maxillary suture, and these sometimes you can get what's called a tripod fracture. 1, 2, 3, where the entire zygomatic bone, this huge bone, gets depressed in, and it can sometimes compress on the eye. So, that's the anterior surface of the face, and I said that the one other thing I was going to do was going to cover the mandible. So we'll finish off with this, and then we'll go ahead to our next video. So the mandible. This here is called the condylar process. Okay, the condyle of the mandible. This is the bit that articulates with the head, okay, and the temporomandibular joint, okay, the temporal bone and the condyle of the mandible. In front of this is a mandibular notch, which takes us to a coronoid process. The body of the mandible is this flat bit here, and at this point here, the angle, it bends upwards and forms what we call the ramus. Ramus just means a branch in Latin, so this is effectively a branch of the mandible. So that's how it's named. We mentioned before this mental foramen, which is where a branch of the trigeminal nerve comes out, and if we look on the inside surface, we can see where it comes through. So from the brain, which is sitting around here, the trigeminal nerve branches into a few different branches, and it sends one particular branch through this place. Okay, this is the mandibular foramen with a little projection of bone called the lingula, and it's got a canal that goes all the way down here, sending projections to the teeth and to the gums, supplying them for sensation, and it comes out on the front surface at the mental foramen. If we look at other features on the inside of the mandible, there is a line which is just across here, and this is the mylohyoid line. Okay, a mylohyoid is two muscles, one on either side, that sling down and meet each other in the middle, okay, to form the floor of the mouth. And just above them are a couple of muscles that also form the floor of the mouth and the floor of the tongue, which attach at these bony projection points called the genial tubercles. We'll come to meet those particular muscles in a short while. I don't want to go into too much detail about them right now, but that's the bony projection points that are most relevant. So for now, that covers us for the for most of the external skull. Now what we will do in a few moments is we'll start looking into the undersurface of the skull and to the inside of it, because this is where people start to often get quite confused by some of the various holes and structures passing in and out of the skull. But for now, that will do us very nicely, I think.